What changes did you make that improved your mental health? Cutting down on social media, going to the gym more consistently, and trying to eat healthier. Staying active was very important for improving my mental health. I don't think people appreciate how much negative energy can be reduced with exercise. It won't get rid of it completely, but it will help. Call 3 for me too. Gym almost every day first thing in the morning. No social media, except Reddit, but I avoid negative subs. Try to eat healthier, but gotta live too. Also, if I feel overwhelmed about the upcoming week, I try to make myself focus on the here and now and get through one day at a time. Sounds oversimple, but seems to work for me. Really lame, but found a tea I like. And I can make a cup in the morning to drink during work, and make another cup and the end of the night to relax with after I get my house picked up. There's also a podcast that I only get to listen to at work, which makes me look forward to going back to work so I can get to the next episode. I think it's just the act of making a routine action that I get to look forward to. I listened to Rotten Mango, True Crimes, but unfortunately I just caught up with all the episodes last week, so I found 2 others to binge at work. Other People's Lives, podcasts about unique lifestyles or communities. It can be extremely cringy, but I love that kinda stuff. And the Happiness Lab, how to scientifically get yourself to be happier. Quit a toxic job. 100%. My sense of worthlessness was gone. I found a well-paying job that I like. I didn't wake up every morning feeling already worn out and stressed. I was no longer spending all day in a crappy leaky windowless room and was able to take the time to be outside and feel the sun and hear the birds and the wind in the trees. I instantly went from one of the worst ruts of my life to one of the most peaceful moments that I'll never forget. Guy got fired from a toxic job. I panicked for about an hour on how I would fix things. I couldn't go back to the previous job before that. After an hour, I realized, holy, I won't be yelled at to the point I want to myself. I don't dread waking up in the morning. This is amazing. I never would have left that job. The 3 months there were the worst of my life. It's been a year and a half, and I still have emotional trauma from that boss. I'm still doing far better than I could have if I stayed, assuming I'd even be alive anymore. I moved countries, and the job I got when I moved wasn't awful. Loads of unpaid overtime, so much so that some weeks I just didn't see my kids due to getting back late. Wife had to go into hospital one weekend, so I was looking after kids, visiting her, and working. We were given laptops so we could keep working. Boss called me into his office on the Monday and said I'd been slow over the weekend. Told him what was going on. He simply said we all have families, but work comes first. Yeah, my entire team is fresh out of uni and still living with their parents. There's a chance my wife has cancer, but thanks. Got a job interview. Didn't get the job. And the company I interviewed for was a client of my company. Didn't know at the time and told my boss. All of a sudden I'm called into his office, told to stop interviewing or he'd fire me. Getting snide remarks behind my back for leaving at 4:45 when the rest of the team leave at 5, despite arriving at 7:45 and they arrive at 8:30 or later. There were lots of others. My boss asking me to cancel my leave while I was on it, and asking me to hire a babysitter so I could come into work. I didn't find anything for a year and a half, but it was after the interview when they found out, less than 4 months in, that I stopped caring about the job at all. I did feel worthless. I hated every single day, woke up with dread. I became a different person, and even now, 5 years after I got a new job that I love, I'm still not sure I'm back to how I was. I did consider suicide. If it wasn't for my family, I may well have. But then if it wasn't for supporting them, I may well have thought it. Walked out and got a retail job or something to get by. Deleted Facebook about 7 years ago. I did this a couple months ago, and don't miss it. It was the biggest abacamis I've ever hacked off my psyche. But I've never felt happier or more focused on my actual life and my actual relationships. I also definitely got caught in the trap of doing things just to impress other people on social media, sometimes to the detriment of real-world resources like money, career opportunities, or large chunks of time. For some reason, I can exist more uninfluenced on other forms of social media like Reddit, Snapchat, or Instagram when I use them correctly than on Facebook, likely due to who I interact with and how I interact on each platform. There are also some people who are supposed to go in and out of your life, like it isn't natural to be connected with every person you've ever met at every point in your life, while slightly having the decisions you make influenced by their feedback on your posts. Some people were meant to exit your life 10 years ago, or just be part of your life when you played soccer in high school. Also, Facebook concretizes your identity, which can keep you from growing. Sure, our relationships help root our identity in reality and give it stability, but sometimes those relationships aren't good for either person involved and hold you both back from moving on. Facebook just like Instagram can really for certain people with certain insecurities, or Netflix can be bad for people who have trouble being active. I wish I'd learned how to use social media more selectively at an earlier point in my life. Instead, I spent 10 years being pulled in different directions by my desire to appease people. I can't delete it because I need to use it for business, but I did delete it from my home screen, and it has helped tremendously in the amount time on it. Whenever I need to post something for work, I'll go straight to my business page, post, then leave, check notifications every now and then to see if there are any questions or comments that need a reply. No more mindless scrolling through the feed and playing Russian roulette with my mental health. It's not perfect, but it is the best I can do. Avoiding alcohol. The science of what it does to your brain chemistry is pretty clear. No amount of alcohol is good for you, physically and mentally, and any short-term feel-good effect is at the expense of your longer-term well-being. I still have the occasional drink, but only when I genuinely feel like it, and I now have zero hesitation in tipping half a glass down the drain if I'm not feeling it, regardless of how expensive it is. Interestingly enough, I found just the opposite to be true. I just ended 12 years of sobriety about 6 months ago, and now coming home and having a drink with my meal before bed has greatly enhanced my relaxation and helped with my insomnia. I'm getting better sleep without having to go back on the Ambien. All things in moderation though. I'm having a single drink and not actually trying to get drunk. I never really had a reason for the sobriety. It just sort of happened. And then it sort of continued, and then became why wonder how long I can keep this going type thing. Eventually, I decided that I really didn't have any legitimate reason to deny myself, and while I would prefer weed, it's unfortunately still tested for, and not legal, but thanks to the alcohol lobby, the choice is made for me. Being off electronic devices right before bed. Also just limiting my time on social media. Disconnecting from the 24HR news cycle, and more recently avoiding subreddits that discuss news stuff, particularly political stuff. There's just so much toxic and irrational anger, pointless arguments, etc. I still read the news, but I will spend more time reading human interest pieces, art stories, etc. than I will the latest political headlines. They say ignorance is bliss, and you know what? I think they are onto something. I've more time to focus on myself, the people in my life, my cat, my hobbies, etc. And I can do that all in a better mood and headspace. I just want to know why living is hard, why life has been so unfair. I'm anxious and depressed all the time, scared of life and people. I hide away, and I'm angry at the world. I'm exhausted mentally, physically, and emotionally. I'm feeling very much done. I am a senior person, and I also want to know why life is so hard for so many people. I'm referring to the state the world is in now. High prices, low wages, everything seems to. Life is unfair for some. Hiding away isn't always bad, and I've done it lots of times, even now from time to time. I too have anxiety and depression, and have suffered with it for most of my adult life. It's no fun, as you know. I've been on an antidepressant for all of my adult life, and still have bouts of it sometimes. Sometimes these maladies will stick with us for our entire lives, as mine has. It will take time to get your head straight, but you must start at some point. Of course, I don't know your situation, and I don't have any wisdom to share with you other than get some kind of help for yourself. Many of us have been where you are right now, but there is light at the end of the tunnel, believe it or not. You have to want to get better. Being angry at the world is a very normal feeling, especially now. You have a right to be angry. So many things. Is there anyone you can talk to? Is there any way you can get some kind of mental health help? Let me tell you what I did a long time ago after feeling so down and depressed I wanted to die. I didn't really want to die, but I didn't want to continue to feel the way I did at the time. I checked myself into a mental hospital. I did a Baker Act on myself. This meant I couldn't leave the facility for 72 hours, which was fine with me. Being there didn't cure my depression, but it was there that I was put on an antidepressant for the first time. All through my adult life, I've seen therapists and psychiatrists, and honestly, I can't tell you if they helped me or not. I truly believe it was when I spent time by myself doing things by myself that I began to get to know myself. Over the years, I learned about self-awareness, which was not an easy thing to learn, and sometimes I embarrass myself for not catching my stupidity when it occurs. I don't spend lengthy time with anyone. Maybe a quick chat with my neighbors here and there, but I keep to myself. I'm okay with that these days. I have hobbies that I like to work on, but so many times it's hard to get motivated to work on them. I think my antidepressant has run its course, and I need to talk to my doctor about it. It saddens me to know that you are feeling very much done. However, I understand how you feel. I would like to know that you will get some kind of help before it's too late. Please do this. I want to add that you need to find some kind of coping mechanism to help you through your daily life. Not drugs or anything like that. Something that's positive and good for you. I have been here before, and it was not an easy place to be. I have 2 things I want to share with you, maybe 3. First, always remember that this, too, shall be. We are often told this when we are at our lowest, and it is good to remember. It is even more important to remember when times are good, though. It helps put things into perspective. Life is a wave that we need to learn to ride. We are all just surfers of life and must ride the highs and lows. We do not always get to choose what wave comes our way, but with experience, we can learn to make the best of it. When the ride ends, it is time to paddle back out. It is not easy, but we get stronger. Next, remember that failure is part of life. We cannot fear falling because then we will never try in the first place. Sometimes when we embrace it, we can find a particular joy in failure. We tried, we learned, we gave our best effort. You can be proud of that. Lastly, sometimes it is okay to sit back and be sad and mad and have a good cry. Once we are down, though, start doing things with intention and take slow steps to improve. It will not happen overnight. But enjoy each step and make them with purpose. Be easy on yourself, love yourself. You do not need to be perfect. Good luck, you got this. Greed the Body Keeps the Score. Great book. I would imagine that I'll hit pretty close to home with what you've said. Exercise, sunlight, good clean eating, stop drinking. Focus on gratitude and people that make you happy. Find positive people to follow. For me, Andy Stumpf, Andrew Huberman, and Jocko Willing keep me on the path. Ideally seek professional guidance, but I get it if you're not financially secure enough for this. It's okay. Try to make it a goal though. It's well worth it. It's all about perspective. The above helped me understand my PTSD, alcoholism, and turn around from a steep unhealthy mental spiral. Weed and microdosing shrooms both seem to have good data. Wish I could try myself, but I'm drug tested strictly at work. Also heavier stuff, ibogaine, don't. Really good, but get yourself in a good place for that. Absolutely should not be done willy-nilly. I'm absolutely not saying drug abuse is the answer, but can absolutely change your perspective or help you open up your own boundaries to help rebuild and improve. Part of the problem that faces everybody like us is that mainstream media and social media project a much higher proportion of people with successful lives and relationships. But when you actually go and look at science, the sociology of happiness and relationships in America, the UK, and other countries, a lot of people are in the same position as you. Far more than you might realize. It's such a shame that there are so few ways to meet and girl-friendly connect people like us just to chat, like a chat roulette type service. Sure, there is Reddit and Discord, and loads more platforms like them, but it's not the same as meeting someone face-to-face, or one-to-one. A lot of those face-to-face activities that I grew up with in the 80s are long gone, because there's such less demand for them, so they closed. For example, internet cafes were an awesome place to hang out and meet people. When the PlayStation came out, the number of kids playing outside plummeted in the UK. The only thing that is out there are a few Reddit social meetup groups, and then there's Meetup itself. My advice for mental health is to be around other people, not to tell them your story, but just to enjoy other people's company on a regular basis. If you struggle socially, perhaps the social S aren't up to spec. This is happening to many people since the pandemic. Don't worry about it. You can find books and videos on YouTube that can help. Really, the best advice is just to ask people questions and take interest in their lives and stories. I'm going to take maybe a little different approach than others in their response to you. But I would tell you, don't wait around for better days. And don't hang in there. I felt just like how you described feeling. And some days I still do. But for a long time I felt that way every day. I got sick and tired of feeling that way. Literally sick and tired. I was in physical pain. I couldn't find a reason to get out of bed in the morning, so I just wouldn't. But I don't want you to lay around and wait for something better like I did. Realize that the life that you are living, the existence that you occupy, that is your experience. If there is something that you want to do that will make your day more enjoyable, then do that thing. All of the disasters and grief in the world will still be there, and it's okay to set time aside for that. I would even say that it's not a bad thing to take time to consider those parts of life. But they will be there whether you spend your day worrying about them or spend your day being productive or doing things that you enjoy. Things like debt don't go away if you run from them. I don't know about you, but for me that was huge. Money problems stressed me out so much that I just didn't have the willpower to deal with them. It required facing that and making a plan. And that sort of got exciting because it put everything in perspective and it seemed possible. Actually acting on that plan was another thing, though. It's sometimes a very slow process to pull yourself out of the slump, and at times you will falter and want to quit. But knowing that progress can be slow sometimes makes it easier to carry on, because you know that even when you're moving slow, you are moving in the right direction. There were a lot of times when life felt like it was very long, and that felt like a curse. But realize that life is long, and that there is time to work your way through pretty much anything. All you have to do is be willing to put in the work, and please know that it is worth it. I don't know who you are, but I know that you can do this, because I know that we all can do this. This may sound a little silly, but a really important first step for me was externalizing these feelings with someone. I was finally honest with my therapist about being suicidally depressed, and it gave me the courage, communication to talk to my wife and closest friends about it. And to be honest, I hated every second of it, but it was extremely necessary to feel like I wasn't alone with my struggles. And I'm very grateful that I'm putting myself through the process of changing, even though it's painful. You deserve happiness. I know you can find it. And for me, it started with controlling my internal narrative. Focusing on negatives comes very easy to me, but it does not help me be happy. Don't get me wrong, I'm still a realist. But when I talk to myself about myself, I no longer allow self-hate to control or subvert the narrative. I wish you the best of luck. Deciding that this isn't how you want to live and deserve better is a very important step. You know that most people feel the same way you do. If not now, then at one time or another. That's important to remember. Like you're so worried about that spot on your shirt that you got from spilling coffee in your car and the person walking up to you. You're afraid they're going to see it and judge you. but the person walking up to you is afraid that you're going to see the spot on their pants from the toothpaste that they got on it while they were brushing their teeth. We all have our anxieties and our hang-ups and our feelings, and what you don't realize is people are so wrapped up in their own, they're not really worried about you and yours. This will only help with part of that. The worrying and anxiety about what people will do, say, or think about you. But this is a huge thing. If you can get that to lift, it's a little more liberating. Then you can plug away at the other stuff. Do you feel depressed and defeated and like it's no use? You're not going to get very far in life anyway, you're just going to survive. Then decide to just survive. You have to anyway. So join the club. We're all in this together. That's all we're all doing, just surviving. No, life isn't fair, and things are falling apart. What can you as one person do about it? Not much, so you may as well trudge forward, like the rest of us. And I have to say that things got a lot better for me when I decided that there were no goals in life or expectations that I was born with. I'm a biologic creature, like a blade of GR. I don't have any divine purpose, and I don't need to follow some specific pattern in life. I only try to keep up with me. I don't compare my life's progression with anyone else, and that helps me stay more positive about things. I just don't feel bad because I'm doing the best that I can do, and I intend on having fun while I'm doing it. If people don't like that I'm talking to my hamburger, that stuff, I'm having fun and being silly, because if I wasn't having fun, then I'd want to shoot myself in the head. So there's my choices. I choose the first one. When you fill your life up with even little teeny tiny positive things, there's less room for the negative everything else to get in. Really. But first, you have to tackle that what everybody else thinks thing, and stop comparing yourself with anyone else. Exercising really hard, resistance training, or cardio. Either way, if you go hard enough, you'll notice the general frequency of anxiousness melt away. Especially with the right programming, I think it can also be helpful to have something in your life that is challenging, but not so much that you're constantly worried about failure. Like, I know that even on a crappy day, I'm going to be able to go and hit my minimum sets and reps. Might not set any, but the work will get done, and that sets me up for better results down the line. Stop trying to help people out of their own mental turmoil. My dad was right. You can't save the world. It's really hard to set boundaries, especially in relationships with people you love or have a commitment to. We have to be more honest with ourselves about whether this is a situation where I can help, or the more likely situation where I'll get pulled into the toxicity. The original coiner of the term codependence described it as a communicable disease that you catch. Just like a disease transmitted by microbes, you have to be piercingly honest with yourself about the condition of your immune system and vaccine status before choosing to be around codependent people. Left the narcissist in my life. Lots of therapy, getting meds figured out, learning to listen to my mind and body, and accept when I can't do what is expected of me by myself and others. Allow room for imperfections in myself and others, and pick a few things that I like about myself and focus on those things and try to pick more until I eventually learn to love myself. Setting healthy boundaries, and setting routines that work regardless of my energy levels. This is going to sound really dumb. Making the bed in the morning. Even if I achieved nothing else that day, I achieved that. Mostly, however, it meant I had one tiny thing to build another tiny thing on top of. Over time it all adds up, and by the end of a horrible day, it wasn't so bad. But the end of the week, not so bad at all. Where it led to was realizing being down and thinking all I wanted to do was nothing isn't actually true. Turns out, being active and engaged and getting stuff down makes my mental well-being much, much better. Essentially, what I feel in advance will make me happier doesn't. What I don't want to do actually does. It's weird, not obvious, and annoying, but has totally changed my life. The only way I can summarize it is that happiness is a feeling you only perceive after the event, not during.